All right, everybody, welcome back to this week's Midweek Mini.
Hello.
And we woke up and there was some exciting news from the City of Toledo. The mayor has announced that he has formed an office, a mayor's office that is specifically dealing with disabilities. And according to what I can find online and what the mayor talks about in his meeting that we're going to go over here in a minute, this is one of maybe 7 cities in the country that are taking this initiative, and all the other cities are huge. You're talking like Philadelphia, New York, San Francisco, Chicago, and then Toledo, which is nowhere near the size of those.
Not at all.
Is putting themselves on the map for that. So that's really exciting.
Man, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal for us. We got lots of good news for the disability community coming up recently. I mean, this last 2 weeks for us has just been huge. So
it's been really pounding. I think it's a lot of the footwork and advocating that a lot of people have been doing, you know?
Yeah, and it's super awesome. So what Tony and I are going to do right now is I just cut out some clips of the mayor's press conference he held with the Ability Center of here in Toledo, Ohio, and we're just going to watch some of these clips and just kind of see what he has to say and what we think about all this. So let's just dive right into it here. Clip number 1.
We're here today to announce the creation of the Mayor's Office on Disability. We believe this is the first such office anywhere in the state of Ohio. This is the first Mayor's Office on Disability anywhere in Ohio. In fact, there aren't too terribly many cities in the entire country that do this. Now, some do, primarily the bigger cities, San Francisco and Baltimore, Houston, Austin, Philadelphia, Tampa. Closest to us, I know they have an excellent office in Chicago. And frankly, as we seek to build our office here in Toledo, I know I have been drawn to the office in Chicago almost as a model. They have a really impressive set of services and operation model that, frankly, we'd like to learn from and replicate.
All right. So, Tony, initial thoughts on this whole thing coming seemingly out of the blue. I mean,
I personally didn't hear anything about it until now, and I thought it was quite interesting that Toledo did it before anywhere else. You know, before Columbus, before Cincinnati. So it's going to really change the way I think that we do things, because it's going to get a lot of people, I think, in Ohio soon, in those other cities, those bigger cities, to look at how we do things. And we'll see what happens with the economy and stuff from there.
Yeah, and it's really great news. And like I said, it literally just came out of the blue. Your wife actually texted us yesterday. I was like, you got to see this. And like, I'm on social media all day long. I didn't see anything. So it's really awesome. So we're trying to stay on top of this and see what it's going to be for, people here in Northwest Ohio. It's great news. All right. So we're going to dive here into the second part.
Now, I want to say at the outset that this goes beyond the Title II requirements of the Americans with Disability Act. Every municipality must have an ADA coordinator, and Toledo does, and it has for many years with, very varying levels of success, I suppose. But this is beyond sort of being compliant with the law. Again, I believe that we are compliant with the law, but that is a bare minimum floor that we shouldn't be satisfied with. We want to go above and beyond that. So this is more than just having an ADA coordinator. We already have an ADA coordinator. This is more than just trying to do what is minimally required to be compliant with the Title II of the Americans with Disability Act. We already do that, and we should want to do that. What this is elevating to executive status an office on disability.
So I think the important thing here is that this isn't just like a bare minimum standard and kind of like hopefully not just a showboating. Like this is like
this
going
is about to be
big.
The real deal.
Yeah, like real executive office in the mayor's office that's fully devoted to making the city more accessible to everyone.
Right.
So what kind of, I mean, from your experience working in the field, what kind of has been lacking over the years as far as like disability, access, not like, I mean, anything, public transportation, housing, any of that stuff?
Well, I see a lot of it in housing. It's starting to change, but there's a lot of landlords who are not equipped for a lot of the individuals that we serve. There's been, I think, a lot of work done. I think all like all like commercial buildings and stuff are supposed to be equipped with like ramps and walkways and stuff. And that's been in effect for quite a while, but not every door is accessible. There are some individuals who have very large wheelchairs that might not meet the standard in certain housing to even go through a door. So I don't always want to say that we're making change just for our individuals. It honestly needs to be full circle. I mean, there's other individuals who are not afflicted by or have issues like that, but will need some of those services and help.
Yeah, that is a good point. So let's go into part number 3 here and see what the mayor has to say.
And it will, it will do a lot of things. Sure, the office will, sort of connect the community to the disability community to the city and its operations. It will have influence in every part of city operations. But on a deeper level, it will seek to make sure that those living with a disability have a seat at the table when important decisions are made, not just within the organization known as the City of Toledo, not just within our organization of Toledo City Government, but within the entire city.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that one? He's saying it's going to be it's not just a city initiative to be just city employees, city buildings. It's everything. That's big. Everywhere. That's a huge change. That's a lot. That's a lot.
It's a lot that people are going to have to bite down and swallow. And I think it's at the right time though. Through COVID, there was so much that changed that I think even our individuals felt the crushing blows of not being able to do the best. One of the reasons why we even have this new studio is because our other one was not accessible to certain individuals. And I didn't feel like that was right to have to continue to. I mean, at times we have carried up individuals and to have podcasts and stuff, and not necessarily saying they were in danger because we did it properly and we had consent and everything, but it's still in the back of your mind. If you trip, anything can happen. Oh man! So I'm very proud of this. I think go Glass City. I love it.
All right, moving on. We have another clip here.
There was no thought, frankly, given to how someone living with a disability would be able to interact with this program. And in retrospect, that is embarrassing. That's personally embarrassing to me. It was a failure of ours, I think. I don't know if elected officials are supposed to admit failures or not, but I do. And it bothered me. And not one of those bicycles was able to be enjoyed by a person living with a disability. And, you do make mistakes in life. And so learning from that, we began to have conversations about, okay, how can we make sure that something like this doesn't happen again? Now, trust me, we're correcting the error on the bikes, and we'll make sure that we fix our mistake on that one specific item. But on a larger scale, how many other things perhaps are happening in the city that are well-intentioned and achieve other important goals that maybe were implemented without an eye toward the disability community?
So a little hindsight there. The mayor's referring to the Toledo bike program.
Yeah,
So he was saying, basically they tried to do something good, and then without even, just like we always talk about on the podcast, without even not thinking about it. They didn't even consider disabilities because it's just not something people think about very
right.
often. I mean, that's at like a government level even. Like it's just so far not in the public eye, which this is great. They're trying to actively change that. And that's something we also talk about all the time is like, there's literally the mayor of our city admitting he screwed up. So like, come on. I mean,
just accept it.
It's part of growth. It's part of the process. So it's good they're trying to fix that and moving forward. But that just goes to show how excluded a lot of people with disabilities are from the conversation. Like daily, like everything that they're doing is just nobody thinks about it. It's always last priority. So it's really awesome to see this change. So let's move on here. We got a few more clips to run through real quick.
So this office was actually sort of the idea and brainchild of about 10 different local disability agencies. So I'm here representing the Ability Center, but I don't want to leave out the fact that this was definitely a collaboration and group effort. And 10 of us got together to sign a letter and send it to City of Toledo, just asking them to ramp up their efforts towards inclusion for folks with disabilities by designating an office that could be in charge of these things, in charge of ensuring all City of Toledo policies, like the Bike Go program, as you mentioned, are inclusive, ensuring that everything's compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act, and also looking towards and implementing best practices for the inclusion of people with disabilities in our city. And I think it's that third part that really distinguishes an office, having an office on disability, from just having an ADA coordinator or sort of looking out for inclusion in the city. All around the country, there are best practices for inclusion that go above and beyond minimum compliance. And to have an office dedicated to ensuring that someone's keeping their eye on that and it's implementing it here in our community will do a lot to increase the inclusion of folks with disabilities.
Yeah, so the Abilities Center is involved. There's a handful of other local organizations that are involved. And I think kind of the major point of this is something that we kind of talk about a lot, either on or off camera, is nothing's going to happen if you just sit around and wait for it. Yeah. Like this, I'm sure all the organizations involved have spent countless hours trying to get this in motion. Right. So
I want to know who they are. I'm going to have to do some research. I want to know who the other 9 are.
Yeah. And it's just, it's like you hear about grassroots efforts all the time. And you hear about like small people making big changes. Not to say these are small organizations, but this is like a concentrated effort. And I think that's what's so important is everybody wants change in not only specifically in disabilities, but in whatever they're doing. But this is the kind of action you have to take to get stuff
to get it done. It has to be consistent. It has to be precise, and it has to have a cause behind it. There's too many people. If you're doing things and I don't want to sound cruel, but if you have no real passion behind it, if it's not even something for the greater good of the community, you're kind of wasting your time. Money and items are nice to have, but they're frivolous in comparison to what it is to help somebody in their life. That's deep to me. And that's one of the things that I definitely want to push for. So keep it up, people.
Yeah. So moving on, we just got a few more clips here.
We do know we have some challenges ahead. So a few examples of challenges that folks with disabilities face in Toledo on a more systemic level. City of Toledo has an aging housing stock, and it's mostly inaccessible. So that means that housing is either unavailable or unsafe for a lot of folks with disabilities to live in. We have a public transit system, something that's really vital to independence and success for folks with disabilities who may not be able to drive due to a disability. That doesn't cover the entire county. I think we're all aware of that issue. So folks can maybe get easily from place to place within our city, but when they're trying to reach the surrounding area, when they're trying to get to work, you know, in the larger region, it can be difficult to do that because public transit in some cases doesn't even go outside the city of Toledo. And then another big issue is just finding jobs, employment. It continues to be a challenge for many folks with disabilities.
So yeah, we touched on the housing a little bit already.
Yeah.
I was actually talking about this yesterday with Stephanie about how some of the houses that people rent, you're just like, how can, like, they like don't have bathrooms and stuff sometimes, and it's just that's really messed up.
There is a certain company out here that will remain nameless, but anybody in this field of work who has an individual for this particular landlord or tenant, it's depressing. It's sad on how careless they are for some of our individuals. And it's because of some of our individuals' finances that they can't be in better opportunities and better places. But I just hope that with initiatives and stuff like this, we can actually see that true change. Yeah,
and another big issue that they go on in detail about in this is the public transportation. So how much do like people with disabilities rely on public transportation from your perspective?
More than a little bit. TARPs and TARTA is a very utilized resource in the DD community. So to see them go above and beyond on that is going to be awesome too.
All right. Well, that about covers everything in the mayor's meeting, at least all of the talking points. So, like I said, we here at Friends for Life, and I'm sure other agencies all over the county are very excited in Toledo. So we'll try and keep you guys up to date if we hear any more news. But thank you for watching this midweek mini, and we will see you guys next week yet again, like clockwork, baby. Peace out.
Later.